Welcome to Farming Aid.
When we talk about the roots of American cattle ranching, two names rise to the top again and again: Hereford and Shorthorn. These aren't just breeds, they're living symbols of tradition, toughness, and the foundation of the beef industry as we know it. The Hereford, with its striking red body and white face, became the cowboy's cow, thriving on open ranges and winning the loyalty of ranchers across the Great Plains. The Shorthorn, with its deep history as both a beef and milk producer, was once the most widespread cattle breed in the United States and still influences herds around the world today. Both breeds have their champions, both have their challenges, and both have left an unforgettable stamp on the story of American ranching. But in today's changing beef industry, only one question matters: between Hereford and Shorthorn, which classic American breed still dominates? To understand the rivalry and the legacy of Hereford and Shorthorn cattle, we first have to travel back to the landscapes of England where both breeds began. The Hereford, with its instantly recognizable red body and white face, originated in Herefordshire during the 18th century. Farmers in the English countryside bred them to thrive on grass, withstand unpredictable weather, and put on weight efficiently. The result was a hardy animal with a docile temperament, an efficient grazer, and an ability to produce beef of consistent quality. The white face became such a strong visual symbol that even today, when people think of a traditional beef cow, the Hereford is often the image that comes to mind. Meanwhile, in the northeast of England, along the fertile lands of Durham, the Shorthorn was being developed around the same period. Unlike the Hereford, which was bred purely for beef, the Shorthorn was one of the first true dual-purpose breeds. Farmers selected for both milk and meat, creating cattle that could fill multiple needs in rural households where every animal had to pull its weight. Over time, two distinct lines emerged: the dairy Shorthorn, prized for milk production, and the beef Shorthorn, developed for beef quality and muscle. This dual-purpose heritage gave the Shorthorn an adaptability that was highly attractive to settlers moving to the vast and unpredictable farmlands of the New World. Both breeds crossed the Atlantic in the 1800s, and both left their mark almost immediately. The Shorthorn actually arrived first, becoming one of the earliest imported cattle breeds in America. For decades, Shorthorns dominated American herds, so much so that they were once called Durhams, and used widely as foundation stock for crossbreeding. Farmers appreciated their ability to produce milk, meat, and hardy calves. For a time, if you were a cattleman in America, chances were good you had Shorthorn bloodlines in your herd. The Hereford came slightly later, but its rise was meteoric. By the mid to late 19th century, American ranchers in the expanding Western territories began favoring Herefords over Shorthorns. The reason was simple: Herefords were tougher. They could travel long distances in cattle drives, survive harsh winters and dry summers, and thrive on sparse grass where Shorthorns often struggled. As the beef industry industrialized and demand grew for animals that could produce consistent carcasses on a large scale, the Hereford's reputation only grew stronger. By the 20th century, the breed had become the dominant face of American beef production, so much so that Herefords were nicknamed the Great Improvers for their ability to upgrade herds across the country. But dominance is never absolute. While Herefords became the poster child of beef, Shorthorns never disappeared. In fact, they carved a valuable niche in the cattle industry. Their ability to crossbreed and add maternal strength, milk production, and carcass quality to herds kept them relevant. Breeders developed specialized beef Shorthorn lines that were thick, muscular, and competitive in beef markets. Meanwhile, dairy Shorthorns remained useful in small-scale operations, although they eventually lost ground to high-yielding Holsteins. Yet even as their overall numbers shrank compared to Herefords, Shorthorns built a reputation as a breeder's breed, cattle that added balance, hybrid vigor, and efficiency when crossed with other lines. The cultural symbolism of these two breeds in America is also worth noting. The Hereford became the cowboy's cow, the breed most associated with cattle drives, the Great Plains, and the rugged image of the American West. Photographs from the early cattle barren days often show herds of red and white Hereford stretching across vast landscapes. They were reliable, predictable, and market-friendly, which made them the darling of both ranchers and feedlots. Shorthorns, in contrast, often became associated with more traditional, diversified farms in the Midwest and Northeast, where versatility and dual-purpose traits mattered more than sheer toughness. Their reputation was more subtle, less flashy, but deeply respected among breeders who valued balance and long-term sustainability. As the beef industry modernized, both breeds faced new challenges. The rise of specialized breeds like Angus began to shift the market. Angus cattle, with their black hides and superior marbling, captured consumer demand for high-quality beef in the second half of the 20th century. Feedlots and processors began rewarding carcass traits that favored Angus genetics, and suddenly the long-reigning Hereford had a rival. This pressure forced the Hereford Breed Association to adapt, introducing programs to improve carcass quality and reduce problems like eye cancer and udder defects. Shorthorns faced their own pressures as they competed not only with Angus but also with continental European breeds like Charolais, Simmental, and Limousin, which were imported in the mid-20th century and valued for their rapid growth and muscle. Yet, despite these pressures, neither Hereford nor Shorthorn has faded into irrelevance. In fact, both continue to serve important roles in the beef industry. Herefords remain one of the most common breeds in the United States, especially in crossbreeding programs. Their white-faced calves are easy to spot in pastures, and ranchers still value their docility, fertility, and efficiency on grass. Shorthorns, while not as numerous, continue to punch above their weight in influence. Their genetics are highly sought after in composite breeding programs where producers want to balance growth, maternal ability, and carcass quality. Shorthorn influence can be found in many hybrid cattle across the globe, even if the purebred herds are smaller. The question of which breed dominates today depends on how we measure dominance. If we look purely at numbers and cultural influence, the Hereford still has the edge. It remains one of the largest beef breed associations in the world, and its impact on American ranching history is unmatched. When people imagine classic cattle on the range, it is usually the Hereford's white face that comes to mind. But if we shift the lens to influence and adaptability, the Shorthorn holds its own. Few breeds have been used in as many crossbreeding programs, and few have contributed as much to the genetic foundation of modern cattle. In many ways, Shorthorns are the quiet power players of the industry, their bloodlines shaping herds in ways that are often invisible but deeply significant. Looking at the future, the competition between Hereford and Shorthorn is less about rivalry and more about relevance in a rapidly changing beef industry. Consumer demands are shifting toward quality, sustainability, and efficiency. Ranchers are under pressure to produce more with fewer resources, while also meeting environmental concerns. In this landscape, both breeds have unique advantages. Herefords offer efficiency on forage, fertility, and a gentle temperament that makes them easy to manage even on large ranches. Shorthorns offer versatility, hybrid vigor, and carcass quality traits that add value in crossbreeding systems. Neither breed will likely return to the days of absolute dominance, but both are poised to remain essential players in shaping the cattle of tomorrow. Perhaps the most compelling way to think about the Hereford versus Shorthorn question is not as a battle but as a balance. Herefords represent ruggedness, tradition, and the heart of American ranching. Shorthorns represent versatility, adaptability, and a more subtle but equally important legacy. One wears the crown of dominance in history, the other wears the badge of influence through genetics. Both breeds remind us that cattle ranching is not just about numbers or trends. It is about the animals that built the beef industry, the farmers and ranchers who trusted them, and the consumers who still enjoy the results today. So, which classic American breed still dominates? If you ask a rancher driving cattle across open pastures, the answer might be Hereford. If you ask a breeder designing the perfect cross for efficiency and beef quality, the answer might be Shorthorn. The truth is, both remain iconic, both remain valuable, and both remind us that the cattle industry is shaped not by one breed alone, but by the combined legacies of many. The Hereford may always be the poster child of American beef, but the Shorthorn remains the quiet architect behind much of its foundation. In that sense, dominance is shared, and the story of both breeds continues to be written in the pastures and feedlots of America today. At the end of the day, both Herefords and Shorthorns have earned their place as legends of American ranching. The Hereford built its reputation as the hardy range cow, a breed that carried the beef industry on its back for more than a century and still stands strong in pastures across the country. The Shorthorn may not dominate the headlines the same way, but its influence runs deep, shaping countless herds through crossbreeding and proving its worth with balance, fertility, and quality. So which one truly dominates? That depends on how you measure success. If it's history and sheer numbers, the Hereford takes the crown. If it's adaptability and genetic influence, the Shorthorn deserves just as much credit. Together, they remind us that the beef industry isn't built on one breed alone but on the combined strengths of cattle that stand the test of time. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into these two classics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below about which breed you think has the edge. Your thoughts might just spark the next great debate in cattle country.